Around 563 BCE, a young prince named Siddhartha Gautama lived in a world of shielded luxury. Yet at age 29, he walked away from his palace. He left his inheritance, his title, and his family and vanished into the night. His departure was triggered by 4 specific encounters outside his palace walls. For the first time, Siddhartha saw an aging man, a sick man, a corpse, and finally, a wandering ascetic. These 4 sights shattered his sense of security. He recognized a concept he called dukkha, the reality that suffering, physical decay, and death are inescapable, regardless of one's status. This realization suggests that Siddhartha's journey began as a search for a practical method to resolve a human condition that his kingdom's wealth could not alleviate. Siddhartha spent years seeking a solution through extreme asceticism. He pushed his body to its limit, starving himself until he was nearly a living skeleton, hoping that punishing his physical form would liberate his mind. Ultimately, this extreme approach did not work. This failure led to his major philosophical breakthrough. He observed that a lute string pulled too tight will snap, while one left too loose makes no sound. Only a string tuned with precise balance achieves perfect resonance. He called this the middle path, a rejection of both indulgence and extreme self-denial. This towering spire marks the Mahabodhi temple in Bodh Gaya, built on the site where Siddhartha sat beneath a Bodhi tree to meditate. It was here that he achieved deep clarity and became the Buddha, or the Awakened One. He organized his findings into an operational framework. He defined the mechanics of suffering through the 4 Noble Truths and mapped out a specific behavioral guide to resolve it, known as the Eightfold Path. But this entire system rested on the rigorous self-reliance of its practitioners. As the Buddha approached the end of his life, his followers faced a logistical crisis. How could these oral teachings survive without their leader? The immediate crisis following the Buddha's death was the preservation of memory. His instructions had only been transmitted orally. Without a physical record, the details of his philosophy were at risk of being lost or altered. To prevent this, his followers gathered in large-scale councils. These ancient manuscript leaves represent the Tripitaka, or 3 baskets, the first systematic categorization of his discipline, sermons, and theories into a permanent written code. They also formalized the Sangha, a monastic society that was radical for its time. It entirely rejected the Indian caste system, allowing anyone, regardless of their birth rank, to join and pursue enlightenment as equals. This inclusive structure gave the movement significant political utility. 2 centuries later, Emperor Ashoka used Buddhist principles to unify his empire. The architectural scale of the Great Stupa at Sanchi reflects how state patronage physically embedded the faith across India. Preserving the teachings through a state-sponsored network saved them from immediate disappearance. However, this growth produced a centralized bureaucracy that eventually drifted away from the movement's ascetic roots. As the teachings spread, they adapted to new cultures. To survive across borders, the original philosophy split into distinct traditions, primarily Theravāda, Mahāyāna, and Vajrayāna. This weathered stone Buddha reflects an ideological pivot, particularly within the Mahāyāna tradition. Over time, the Buddha was often viewed less as a human teacher and more as a divine, godlike figure who could be petitioned for salvation. Back in India, the monastic networks began to decay. Over centuries, these institutions acquired significant wealth and land. Many monks became detached from the daily struggles of the common people they were meant to guide. Simultaneously, a resurgent Hindu movement began absorbing Buddhist concepts. By labeling the Buddha as an avatar of the god Vishnu, competing traditions eroded Buddhism's independent identity within India. The institutional presence of the religion was dismantled in the 12th century during the Turkic invasions. These red brick ruins are the remains of Nalanda University. General Bakhtiar Khilji burned the libraries and killed the scholars, destroying the primary centers of Buddhist learning in India. Stripped of its libraries, weakened by internal corruption, and absorbed by other faiths, Buddhism virtually vanished from its own birthplace. For hundreds of years, the origin of Buddhism was a landscape of forgotten rubble. In the 19th century, archaeologists began excavating ruins like the Dhamek Stupa at Sarnath, physically unearthing a timeline that had been buried for generations. The revival of the philosophy required a modern application. In the 20th century, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, a reformer and the architect of India's constitution, sought an ideological escape from the oppressive Hindu caste system. He utilized the ancient egalitarian structure of the Sangha. In 1956, Ambedkar launched the Mahāyāna movement, leading a mass conversion of millions of his followers to Buddhism in Nagpur. The Dikshabhumi Stupa in Nagpur marks this event. This conversion applied the Buddha's ancient rejection of caste to the immediate struggle for social equality. From a prince seeking personal clarity to a modern movement for justice, the history of Buddhism illustrates its own core concept of impermanence. It survives by adapting, dying, and being reborn to address the suffering of every new era.